Mr. McGuire, thank you so much for your service to our country, and thank you for your patriotism. I want to ask you a couple questions about the time surrounding July 25th to the time that you came into office as DNI. As you know, the phone call between President Trump and the Ukrainian president happened on July 25th of this year, correct?
I believe July 25th, I believe, sir.
At least one of them happened on July 25th. At that time, the DNI was Dan Coates, and his deputy was Sue Gordon. As you know, the whistleblower claim was filed on August 12th of this year, and then you took office on August 16th, 4 days later.
Yes, sir.
Prior to taking your new job, or since, did you discuss the July 25th call or the whistleblower complaint with DNI Coates?
I wouldn't have taken the job if I did. No, sir.
And how about with Sue Gordon?
No, not at all. I don't believe, up to the best of my ability, I do not think that either Director Coates or our principal deputy, Sue Gordon, have any sense whatsoever about this whistleblower complaint or that Michael Atkinson had it.
Before your current role, did you discuss Ukraine with President Trump?
No, Congressman. I haven't discussed Ukraine with anybody. Let me put it to you that way.
You haven't discussed Ukraine with anybody in your current role as the acting DNI?
Well, as we intelligence reports, we've got about 190 countries out there. So whatever the president's daily brief is and matters that pertain to that. But as far as intelligence equities in that region right now, this has just not been something that has come to my attention in the 6 weeks that I've been the acting DNI.
Now, turning to the whistleblower and the Inspector General, you don't know the identity of the whistleblower, right?
Congressman, I do not, and I've made it my business to make sure that I do not.
Correct. And you don't know his political affiliation, obviously.
I do not. I do not know this individual.
Or her political affiliation. And, of course, you believe that the whistleblower was operating in good faith.
I do.
And without bias.
I don't know about that. I do not know about that. I do believe that the
But you have no reason to believe that he or she was acting with bias, correct?
I just believe that the whistleblower was acting in good faith.
But you have no reason to believe that the person was biased.
I would not know whether he biased or not biased, sir. I just don't know.
And, of course, you will do everything you can to protect the whistleblower from any attempts to retaliate against him or her, correct?
I will not permit the whistleblower to be subject to any retaliation or adverse consequences for going to the IG. I am absolutely committed to that.
And unlike the whistleblower, you do know the Inspector General, obviously.
Yes, and I hold him in high esteem.
And like the whistleblower, he also operated in the highest faith, right?
I believe that Michael Atkinson, yes.
And interestingly, Mr. Atkinson was actually appointed by President Donald Trump, right?
Yes, he was. He's a presidential appointee.
At what lends real credibility to the whistleblower's complaint is the fact that Mr. Atkinson, an appointee of the president, would actually bring forward a complaint against his boss. And that's something that is especially courageous. What I want to hear from you is that you will also do everything you can to protect Mr. Atkinson from potential retaliation.
Congressman, absolutely.
Very good. Now, the White House released a memorandum of telephone conversation from the July 25th, 2019 call, right?
I believe that was what was transmitted yesterday morning, sir.
And they call that a telcon in the jargon of these memoranda. Is that right?
I'm familiar. This is the first time I've ever seen the transcript of a presidential conversation with a foreign leader.
Okay, have you been...
Telcon would be short for telephone conversation, though.
Exactly. And have you been a party to a conversation between the president and a foreign leader on a phone call?
When I am in the office to provide the intelligence brief to the president, some foreign head of state might call in. The president may either ask us to leave or just stay there for a brief call from time to time. Yes, sir.
And there are note takers who actually scribble down furiously what's being said on those calls.
If they are note takers, they would not be in the Oval Office with us. They might be listening somewhere else, sir.
Like from the Situation Room.
Right.
And in
or where, I don't know, but somewhere within the White House, yes.
And within this particular situation, maybe more than a dozen people were on the phone call.
That's the allegation, yes.
And they were all taking notes, presumably.
If they're good public servants, yes, Congressman.
Were you, were you ever a party to a call where the notes that you took were then given to someone at the White House for keeping?
I have never been party to any call other than my own. I would take notes for my own at my level or as the director of National Counterterrorism Center, but I have never been privy to a conversation with the president where I would be involved in taking notes. It would just be happenstance. I happened to be there, and he felt comfortable enough to leave me for a brief conversation. But it's not anything that I would be in that office particularly for that matter.
Thank you for your service.